Okay, so again, I've aligned the Rad-Cal up, so I have the little extra lip. I have the top is pretty dang uniform, so that way my artwork looks good. I'm really conscious of this button. It's a little bit miscut there. I don't know if you guys can see it, just a tad. I mean, honestly, it's so minor that it's hard to even say, but it's just a tad. But the button will stick out and protrude, so I'm not too worried about that, and I can always touch it up if I don't like how much paint's showing. I could turn that black. In fact, I thought about painting that black before, so nothing would show through, and I just can't decide if I should. So essentially, maybe I'll still do that. I'm just looking. But I've got this thing lined up great where I have just a little hangover on the edge, right? It's just a tad, if you can see it right there, just a hair. And on here, again, just a hair. So not bad, and I think the two will line up good. Okay, so I got this thing where I want it, and once I got it where I want it, I took some clamps. You see these C-clamps? And I just clamped it down on the edge. I was careful to clamp it where the coin door is going to cover it. In case it dents it or does something to it. So you can just see I clamped it there. And then what I'll do is I'll just pull this up like so, and I'll peel this off. And after I peel it, I'm going to cut with scissors the backing off, so it's a real straight line, so it's easy to get that unpeeled on the other side, because then I'll take my clamps off and I'll stick it down. I don't have anybody here to help me. I actually did paint that because I wanted it black underneath there so you can see it. That's all the paper underneath, but it's going to be black around that edge. So I'm ready to go here, and I'm going to peel this up, cut the backing, and just stick it down. Then I'll undo these and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so I got that side stuck down. As you can see, there's my edge underneath there. And so I'm going to blade that, and I'm going to blade that off and peel the rest and stick it down. So again, a couple important steps here you don't want to skip is that isopropyl alcohol. I think this stuff would really show crap underneath it, but I think I'm okay. So I'll get this down and I'll show you in a second. Okay, so the piece is down. I got it stuck down good. I think it worked pretty dang well. And I think all the prep really probably makes this better. You have just a slight overhang, and quite honestly, it's just real minor, but it's the thickness of the other side. So I think it's going to match up really well on the corners. I may have to tool these just a tad. So you can see these aren't, these aren't perfect. And on the corners, there is a little hang there. I'm not 100% sure my coin door frame is going to fit there, so I may have to cut those corners. And there's a little bit of overhang here, but I should be able to get those adjusted. But like I said, the most important part of this taxi is this guy, and it's got to be centered, and so it is. But the other part is you want this corner from here to here to look good, and I have a little gouge in my cabinet that didn't fill very well. I fixed it, but it will be just fine. The legs will come up to about right here, so I'm not too worried. There'll be spacers here. As long as I get this butt joint good, I'm smooth sailing. And as you can see, like I said, I've prepped the rest of my cabinet. I've sanded all this real lightly. I've filled the holes that were in there with gypsum and then cleared it. I've painted the edges, as you can see, so I have the matching color good. And so this might be problematic, and I'll touch this up when I'm done. But other than that, I think I'm ready. Okay, well, so I got this first piece on successfully. I installed my start button. But most importantly, I went to cut this out. I wanted to see how this stuff cuts. So basically what I did is I took a drill bit and I matched the drill bit up to this hole from underneath, because this is what holds the lockdown bar on. So if you go up underneath here, I drilled from the underneath side, and it drilled real smooth. I mean, it drills really easy. So I took this hole and I put some drill holes in this thing, in this space, to make it weaker, and then I just used this, and quite frankly it cut pretty well. The one thing you'll notice is the blade gets a bunch of goo on it, and this is a pretty sharp blade. It might have dulled it now, but I'll clean that with some alcohol to get the adhesive. See, the adhesive layer, this still has a protective coating on it, so the adhesive layer did that, which is fine. But I was pretty happy with how it cut so far. So pretty simple, really. So I've got I used a Dremel stone, which, let's see if I can find it. I'll show it to you here in a second. So here's what I use. I just have a cordless Dremel, and I just use this thing, and it polishes that out. I got a little bit of the wood and the paint on it, which is not a big deal, but essentially I cut this out, and then I just did this in the corners and even on the edge, and you can see it bunched up a little bit, but it grounded out pretty good. So far pretty happy with what I've done so far start wise, and I guess we'll just keep going now on to the sides and get the rest of the holes drilled.